Adlerian therapy. Presented by Brandice Snowden for Counseling 5283. Who was Alfred Adler? Alfred Adler was a Viennese psychiatrist. He was born February 7, 1870, in the diverse village of Rudolfsheim. Adler was one of 6 children born to a middle-class family. His childhood was plagued with difficulties, including illness and 2 near-death experiences. These experiences of his childhood left him with a strong feeling of inferiority, especially physically. These experiences strongly influenced Adler's concept of social interest, which played a large role in the development of his theories. Adler's rise as a prominent figure in psychology occurred in a roundabout way. He entered the medical profession as an ophthalmologist, transitioned to a general practitioner, and after a few years became a psychiatrist because he felt that the whole person, mental and physical, needed to be considered for health. Adler was strongly influenced by philosophy, including Kant and Nietzsche. The idea that individuals can acquire practical knowledge and employ reason to apply it laid the foundation for the tenets of Adlerian theory. Freud's psychoanalysis provided a framework on which Adler built his own theory of psychoanalysis. Adler's major break with Freud occurred because of their differing opinion on the role of social interaction. Adler's concepts include the style of life which determines how a person adapts to obstacles, creates solutions, and what means they use to achieve their goals. This style can be understood by observing 5 tasks: self-development, spiritual development, occupation, society, and love. The idea of social interest is used as a measure for psychological health. We have an innate ability and need for social cooperation. Despite the innate nature of social interaction, Adler believed that experiences early in life, especially with family, were instrumental in developing the aptitude for social dynamics, and why he argued that birth order was so important. Lastly, the idea of inferiority and superiority shaped Adler's theory. We are exposed to inferiority at birth. The desire to overcome it becomes our motivational drive and pushes us towards achieving our goals and success. Inferiority is only a weakness if it develops into a complex that stops our forward progression. The basic principles or tenets for Adlerian psychology are unity of the individual. Thinking, feeling, emotion, and behavior can only be understood as subordinated to the individual's style of life or constant pattern of dealing with life. The individual is not intentionally divided. Each aspect of the personality points in the same direction. Goal orientation. The early childhood feeling of inferiority for which one aims to compensate leads to the creation of a fictional final goal, which subjectively seems to promise future security and success. The depth of the inferiority feeling usually determines the height of the goal, which then becomes the final cause of behavior patterns. Self-determination and uniqueness. The goal may be influenced by heredity and cultural factors, but ultimately springs from the creative power of the individual and is therefore unique. Usually, individuals are not fully aware of their goal, and the therapist must infer the goal as a working hypothesis. Social context. As an indivisible whole, the human being is also part of larger wholes or systems: family, community, all of humanity. In these contexts, we meet 3 important life tasks: occupation, love, and sex, which involve relationships with other people and create challenges. Our way of responding to our first social system, the family, may become the prototype of our worldview and attitude towards life. The feeling of community. The feeling of genuine security is rooted in a deep sense of belonging and embedded in social evolution. Mental health. A feeling of human connectedness and a willingness to develop oneself fully and contribute to the welfare of others are the main criteria for mental health. When these qualities are underdeveloped, the feelings of inferiority may haunt an individual, or an attitude of superiority may antagonize others. Treatment. Clients are encouraged to overcome their feelings of insecurity, develop deeper feelings of connectedness, and to redirect their striving for significance into more socially beneficial directions. Through a respectful Socratic dialogue, they are challenged to correct mistaken assumptions, attitudes, behaviors, and feelings about themselves and the world. Constant encouragement stimulates clients to attempt what they previously felt was impossible. The growth of confidence, pride, and gratification leads to a greater desire and ability to cooperate. The objective of therapy is to replace exaggerated self-protection and self-enhancement and self-indulgence with courageous social contribution. Adler developed a 4-step process for what he believed would be effective therapy. Build a cooperative relationship built on mutual trust. Assessment and analysis can be both formal and informal in nature. Adlerian therapists help their clients develop insights into mistaken goals and behaviors that hinder their growth and success. During reorientation, clients act on the insights gathered to change thoughts and behaviors to accomplish their goals. Here is a video of an Adlerian therapy session. Adlerian therapy.
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Morning.
How is it?
Thank you.
So, hi, Jonah. How are you? Are you feeling good?
I'm feeling a bit better, I guess.
That's nice to hear. So, how about your school? Are you still adjusting from your college life?
Actually, I was having a depression with all these requirements, schoolworks, and presentations that I have. It feels like I can't sleep every night knowing that I have requirements to do and these expectations of people around me. I'm having abdominal pain and severe headache because of it.
So, you've mentioned that beside your schoolworks, you are also thinking about the expectations from other people.
Yes.
So, let's just shift a bit. Let's talk about the relationship of you from your family.
Okay.
So, how is your relationship with your family?
Actually, I have a family that has a high expectation of me, and they always want the best out of me because both of my parents are educators, and I can't afford having a failing grade.
So, how are you growing with that high expectations?
Actually, it was very hard for me to live up with the expectations that I had.
So, are you the only child in your house?
Actually, we were two, and I have an older brother who is very high achieving, and I think that I'm always in competition with him because I needed to surpass him so that I can win my parents' love and attention.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, you've mentioned that you want to surpass from your brother and win the praise and love from your parents.
Yes.
So, what made you think that way?
Ever since we were a child, my brother is always high achieving unlike me, and because of that he always gets the attention of my parents, and it made me feel that I am unloved and unworthy of the attention of my parents. It seems like I can do great things and that I am not worthy to be part of our family.
It seems that you experienced a lot in your whole life that made you feel depressed. If you could think of an ultimate goal or a dream, what do you think it would look like?
Well, my ultimate goal in life is just to be okay, and not end up messing everything. Like when I mess up, I know that it will still be okay in the end. And when I made a mistake, I know I will just accept it as part of our lives and just go with it.
Yeah, it's like you want to accept your abilities and what you are capable of. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful.
Yes, just like me thinking, oh, I did this, even though I did not did well.
Yes.
Still, I did my best, and that's good enough for me.
Okay, so if I'm going to give you a test and you didn't get a high score, let's say for example 95, how would you feel?
To be honest, I feel awful. Like if I studied for an exam and didn't get a high grade, I'd feel awful. But then if I didn't study for the exam and got a low grade, then I feel bad about myself because I think that I should have studied more.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing is that if you don't study for the test, you feel that you're a bad person.
Well, not necessarily that I'm not a good person. It's just like I'm not a good student because I want my parents to see my abilities and stop comparing me with my brother because I know I have a potential.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear that you are emphasizing more of your abilities and what you're capable of. Okay, so do you think your parents may see more of you rather than your good grades?
Well, I guess yes. I know that my parents love me. It's just that I hope and pray that they see the efforts I try to exert for me to achieve something for them and also for myself.
Yeah, well said. Okay, now I'm going to teach you a technique that might help you get better. So is it okay with you that I will suggest that we do the push button technique, wherein it can help you to understand how you can control your emotion? Would that be okay with you?
Yes.
Alright. So, I want first you to hold this. Okay, this technique has two parts. So, the first step is that I want you to think of an image that can make you feel depressed and anxious. Can you do it for me?
Yes, when I think of my grades that are below than what I expected it to be, I feel so down.
So, can you recall of a time when you got a low grade?
Yes, actually the giving of our grades happened last week and I saw that I got a low grade on 2 of my subjects.
Okay, can you share to me how you felt that time?
My chest felt really heavy and I felt agitated and stressed.
Oh, so when you imagine of that image with your mind, you feel stressed and your heart beats rapidly. Okay, so I want us to move away from that phase and let us go now to the next phase in which I want you to do the same thing, but this time, I want you to think of an image that can make you feel happy, satisfied, and not anxious.
So, this happens every time that I'm with my friends. I felt like I don't have any problem at all and it seems like my problem doesn't exist. And there's this feeling inside of me which is euphoria, just being with them and laughing.
Okay, can it make you feel satisfied?
Yes.
Okay, so you have there in your right hand the depression button that you can push every time you feel horrible, awful, or depressed. While on your other hand, you have there the happy button in which you can push and think of wonderful things or people that can make you happy. And I want you to do this in your home. Alright, so for our next session, if you tell me that you felt depressed, I will just simply ask you, why did you push that depressed button instead of the happy button? Would that be alright with you?
Yes.
Alright, so see you in our next session and thank you very much, Joy.
As I was the only one who signed up for this topic, I found a session on YouTube to use to demonstrate the techniques. Many of the techniques used by Adlerian therapists are shared by many other therapeutic approaches. Making clients aware of their behavior so they can consciously choose to change the behavior, guided imagery, task setting, and homework assignments are just a few of the techniques that Adlerians share with other therapeutic approaches. Other techniques specific to Adlerian therapy are more controversial. Spitting in the client's soup is where a therapist doesn't tell a client that they cannot or should not continue with the behavior, but the therapist makes comments that would hopefully make the client believe that the behavior is less desirable. This is like a child spitting in someone's soup to take it away from them. Another technique with a particularly offensive moniker is avoiding the tar baby. This is where the therapist avoids the self-defeating traps of clients, such as the client acting out to anger a therapist, which would reinforce the client's belief that no one likes them. The push-button technique, which is a form of guided imagery in which the therapist attempts to train a different emotional response to unpleasant situations. Lastly, there is the technique of paradoxical intention. This is probably the most controversial technique, as it encourages clients to increase the occurrence of the undesired behavior so that it eventually becomes less attractive to the client. The strength of Adlerian theory lies in its adaptability. Aspects of Adlerian therapy can easily be incorporated with other therapeutic processes. The emphasis on the holistic treatment of the client, as well as the integration of social interests, lend this form of therapy to one-on-one client sessions, as well as group or family therapy. The main weakness of Adlerian therapy is its lack of empirical evidence to support many of the therapeutic techniques used. Its reliance on philosophy rather than scientific data makes the use of this approach on its own questionable. It is also not useful for chronic mental health conditions because it is meant to be a brief therapy set to solve a particular problem or goal. In conclusion, I find Adlerian psychology to be more of a philosophy on how to approach clients and their issues rather than an established therapeutic process. I do believe that the client as a whole, including their place in society, are important. In that, I agree with Adler. However, I think techniques with empirical evidence of their effectiveness would be more appropriate when treating clients. So I would keep the spirit of Adlerian therapy, but I would combine it with other approaches for the best outcomes for my clients. Thank you for your attention.